Hi everyone, hi subscribers, it's Sloan Rhodes here with your weekly self-mastery class, Ego and Heart. Excuse me, that's our cat, Quinn. Thank you for joining me today. I did just post a daily spiritual guidance video for November 10th, 2018, so if you haven't seen that yet, you might want to. Even though it's for the day of November 10th, it does have some great guidance, I think, in there for just in general for what's going on during these particular times. So I am going to switch things up a little bit. I want to make it as simple as possible for everybody to identify the egoic energy when it comes in, as well as to recognize where the heart is awakening more. So I'm going to take away any confusion. I'm going to draw one card for the week of November 11th, 2018. And with that one tarot card, I'll be using the Mary L. Tarot today by Marie White. I'm going to choose one card, and I'll look at that one card for the week from the ego's perspective, and then also from the heart's perspective. That way you can begin to recognize and even toggle, you can play with it more, toggle back and forth between the egoic energy and the heart-centered energy, so that you can become even more dynamically familiar with when they arise. And I'll be also pulling one more card for what we can expect regardless during the week. So let's just go ahead and get the card drawn, and we'll take a look at the energy for the week based on the tarot card from the ego and the heart's perspective. I hope that fountain's not too loud. Okay, here we go. Strength. This card has been coming up a lot for me lately. What an absolutely beautiful card. I love this deck. Well, of course, for some of you, it may be that there is a Leo individual who is prominent for you during this week, who either triggers your ego or helps you open your heart more, or both. Now there are kids walking by and screaming. Okay, so let's look at the Strength card from the perspective of how the ego may look at it. So when we have the Strength card, we think of courage, we think of harmony, we think of sexual prowess. And so when the ego looks at the Strength card, the ego may become very prideful, right? Very egoic in terms of what we typically think of ego, full of oneself, right? So there may be an individual this week who you perceive, or your ego perceives, the ego, the inner child, is triggered by someone who's very self-confident. But your perception from the ego, from the inner child's perception, may say that person is arrogant. That person thinks that they're all that. Or that I can never be as confident as that person. That person, when they enter a room, they always overshadow me. So the ego, depending upon how your inner child, and in this case, in this particular class, I tend to have the ego and the inner child be relatively synonymous with one another, because the ego is always, from my perspective, connected deeply to the inner child, and where the inner child feels that sense of fear, that sense of feeling abandoned or unloved. So from the ego, from the inner child's perspective, you may feel like that person overshadows me, or you may feel even a sense of disharmony with the Strength card, that you can never be in such a harmonious place as this other individual. Or you may feel self-judgmental, like I need to be more courageous, I need to take more risks in my life, I play it too safe, and you begin to, go into that cycle of self-judgment. I'm supposed to be more than I am right now. That is an impossibility from the perspective of the universal oneness. You are exactly what you're meant to be in any given moment. So knowing that you can always shift from where you are in that moment into a new moment where you feel differently. But it helps to be conscious of where the ego is taking you by the hand and taking you usually down a very familiar track of this person has something I don't have, or I can never be that, or I don't have a chance. Usually we tend to feel very victimized when we're in the egoic energy. But remember that whenever you see something in another, whether it be something that you desire for yourself or something that you're shy away from, we see it in another because we hold some aspect of that within self. So if you see someone who's very courageous or very dynamic, someone who's very confident, and you recognize that, and you may even experience feelings of jealousy around that, that is just a way of letting you know that you hold that within you already. You have the essence of it in you. It's not separate from you. So you can manifest more quickly the things that you are desiring when you recognize that you're not missing it at all. You have it. This is why you can see it in another. So that's just a little game that you can play more and more. Now, how the heart-centered energies may view this strength is very much like that. I hold that. What's possible in the world? That person has so much dynamism. That person is so courageous. That person seems to have it all: mind, body, spirit, harmony. I see it in them. I know that it exists, so it must exist within me. And then the heart says, look where you hold it within you already. And where can you tap into that place inside of yourself where you're not missing it at all? Where maybe in some time in your life you can go back and say, yes, I remember in that moment I felt that sense of that, or I recognized it within myself. Or someone recognized it within me, but I wasn't able to hold that energy yet. I wasn't able to hold their view of me that was so open and loving. And you can play with it more. And the heart says, look at what's possible in the world. Yeah? So there's the ego looks at it from usually the viewpoint of lack. You're missing something. And the heart says, look what's possible. Look at the fullness of it within you already. And that way you're not trying to manifest from a place of lack, which just creates more lack. But you are manifesting more of your desires and your preferences because you already hold it within you. You're not trying to fill a void that doesn't exist. There is no void. You're whole and complete just as you are, as we all are. Now let's get another card based on what we can expect or look forward to regardless during the week of November 11th, 2018. Temperance in reverse. So I'll show you the card in the upright. Well, we certainly have a cat theme, a feline theme. We have the strength card with the lion. We have the temperance in this deck with the tiger here. It is in the reverse. So it looks like during this particular week, what we can look forward to or expect regardless is, and it makes sense too when we look at what's kind of going on for many of us energetically. With the temperance card in reverse, it may be that we are trying too hard to blend aspects of our lives that aren't natural matches. They tend to be like opposing magnets. They can't come together. And so your job during the week and my job during the week is to recognize where this occurs, where we are pushing, trying too hard to make things blend that really have no business blending. Not everything is meant to blend beautifully. Everything is allowed to be its own particular thing without the need to make it be something different. And so this may be where many of us get caught up this week. We may feel this sense of strength. Our ego might come over and we may feel a sense of power, like, oh yeah, I feel very powerful right now. Everything's in flow. I can make these two things work together. I can fit this person with this person, or this job with this job, or it's not going to work very well when you try an aggressive move like that. So the trick during this particular week, as I feel it, because we have all this beautiful water, is to flow, right? Don't try to stir things up in the hopes that, don't try to stir oil and vinegar, water and vinegar together and hope that they blend. It may be a temporary kind of, oh my God, they blended, it's going to come apart. You have to go. You flow into the oil, flow into the water, but let them be their own separate things, which are beautiful in and of themselves. Whenever we're trying to blend things that aren't natural matches and that don't want to be necessarily matched energetically, it's extremely draining to our energy system, and it's also dishonoring of the things that are their own unique, beautiful thing. It's a little bit of that arrogance, that can come up here with the strength card, of that you somehow can master these two things and wrangle them together and make them fit. Well, you maybe can temporarily, but it's not a good fit. And this week you're being encouraged not to do that. You're meant to flow more this week, in terms of trying to make things fit. So it may be that you are trying to make family members fit, or you're trying to create a sense of harmony where things aren't quite yet harmonious or may never be harmonious together. Is a way that you can honor each thing for being its individual thing and still love each thing, but it doesn't mean that they have to be together. So it may be like friend groups, you're trying to mix friend groups, or you're trying to, you have a new boyfriend or girlfriend, you're trying to mix them with your friends, and it's just not working, this kind of thing. It can show up in a multitude of ways. And it may be for some of you, because we do have this feline theme, that you are meant to pay attention to any cats or felines that you have in your space this week. They may be prominent in your world during this particular week. You may get a new cat, or you may be drawn to adopt another cat, or you may have a cat that is needs some extra attention, this kind of thing. So, okay, so I hope you find that helpful. Let me know what you thought of this, because I am, as I mentioned in the previous spiritual self-mastery classes, Ego and Heart, I drew a separate card for each, for the ego and the heart. But I think it's helpful to be able to look at one particular thing from the egoic energy and from the heart energy. But let me know if you find that as helpful, and I'm happy to kind of tweak this in ways that makes the most sense for everyone. So anyway, I wish you much love, and I will see you either at your private appointment or over on the audio podcast, which is available on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio. Or I may see you, where else might I see you? Oh, I have the Sloan Academy up with my online courses. So if you're interested, there's a course on how to read Oracle cards for beginners, how to read Oracle and Tarot cards for intermediate and advanced readers. And it's a beautiful way, that class in particular is a beautiful class for connecting more and more to your powers of intuition. And I go through different, three different modalities for tapping into your innate wisdom. So you may find that helpful. All right, much love to you.